Waitress returns 50,000 diamond ring. What she discovered next was life-changing and incredible. In the heart of Maplewood, a small town where everyone knew each other's lives, Amy was just another face in the bustling diner. At 32, she ran on coffee and sheer grit, balancing the demands of being a single mother with the challenges of serving breakfast to local early risers and gossiping late-night diners. But on an ordinary day, as the sun bathed the diner in a golden glow, she stumbled upon a glimmering diamond ring tucked beneath the ketchup bottle, a breathtaking piece that could change everything. Her heart raced. This wasn't just any ring, it gleamed with the promise of things she could only dream of. A better life for her son, college tuition, and finally breaking free from the struggling existence that clung to her. It was worth a staggering 50,000. What would she do? Thoughts raced through her mind like wildfire, igniting visions of a brighter future. But with every fantasy was the pull of her honest heart. She knew it belonged to Mrs. Langston, a regular patron, a wealthy woman who came in every Tuesday. I can't keep it, Amy told herself, gripping the ring tightly. Everyone in Maplewood viewed integrity as a sacred value. If she didn't return it, what kind of example would she set for her son? Word spread quickly. The town buzzed with gossip and with admiration. Look at her, that down-and-out waitress trying to play the hero, some scoffed. Others cheered, seeing Amy as a beacon of honesty shining in a world riddled with inequality. The whispers hung in the air, thick with judgment and pride. She couldn't help but wonder if she was worthy of all this attention, if her choice to return the ring was something noble or foolish. Just then, her estranged father caught wind of her story, a Vietnam vet whose absence had left scars deeper than any war. Pride and guilt pushed him to reach out, desperate to bridge the gap he had created between them. What's next? Is she just a waitress? He thought bitterly. Yet the spark of that old bond lingered, a fragile hope of redemption glimmering like the diamond, but it didn't stop there. Mrs. Langston, moved by Amy's unwavering honesty, offered her an opportunity, an invitation to an exclusive business workshop that could change her life forever. Yet the opportunity came with strings attached. A town hall meeting erupted in heated debates, spurring conversations about social justice and class disparity. The air crackled with tension. Standing among her neighbors, Amy felt the weight of their eyes, a dozen opinions swirling around her like autumn leaves caught in a gust. This is your chance, a voice behind her muttered. But what about your integrity? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The moment hung heavy in the air, a mix of exhilaration and fear. Amy took a deep breath, her heart pounding. I know where I stand. But I need you all to hear this, she began, her voice steady, yet filled with the pain of her past and the hope of a brighter future. The crowd quieted, focused on her. This wasn't just about her anymore. It could revitalize their community, spread the message of honesty and integrity. As she spoke, the ring in her pocket felt like a talisman. Would this lead to healing, not just for her but for Maplewood, too? Could honesty truly bridge the gaps between their divided lives? Standing at that crossroads, the weight of her choices ahead loomed larger than she had ever imagined. Would she find the courage to stand up not just for herself, but for every single person in that room? The question lingered, leaving the scent of possibilities in the air, as Amy prepared to fight for the future she had always desired. The air buzzed with anticipation as Amy stood there, her heart racing with each passing second. The faces in the crowd reflected a mix of curiosity, admiration, and doubt. She was not just a waitress but the embodiment of hope for many in Maplewood. The weight of her words felt heavier than the diamond nestled in her pocket. Honesty is not just a choice, it's a way of life, she continued, looking into the eyes of her neighbors. She thought of her son, Lucas, and how she wanted to teach him the importance of integrity. If we want things to change, it starts with us right here, right now. A murmur passed through the crowd, some nodding in agreement while others seemed torn, wrestling with their opinions. Mrs. Langston, seated at the front, looked at Amy with an expression filled with pride, her own struggles reflected in Amy's fierce determination. Maybe a voice piped up from the crowd, but how does a workshop for the privileged help someone like her? It was a challenge, and Amy felt the weight of the question. Their essay bridge, Amy replied, her voice firm. It's not about privilege, it's about opportunity. And if I seize this chance, it's a step forward for all of us. I can come back, bring ideas that can uplift our community's economic situation. But I need your trust. Silence filled the diner, the hum of the coffee machines the only sound breaking the tension. Then, someone clapped, tentative at first, but soon it snowballed into a wave of applause. It felt surreal, each clap like an echo of support that wrapped around her. Feeling emboldened, Amy took a step forward. And what if I could also show you ways to combine our unique strengths? We are a community. We can support each other, learn from each other. Then came Lucas, pulling at her apron, his little eyes wide with confusion. Mommy, are you okay? Amy knelt, her heart melting. I'm fine, sweetheart. I'm just trying to make things better for us. For everyone, she whispered, hoping her resolution would comfort him. The innocence of his gaze lit a spark within her, the desire not only for personal success but for creating a solid future for him and the town. Be brave, Mommy, he murmured, squeezing her hand with all the strength a little boy could muster. The applause continued as if fueled by Lucas's unwavering faith in her. She felt the crowd warm, a wave of unity swelling around her. For the first time, the encouragement lifted her spirits higher than she'd ever imagined. As the meeting drew to a close, Mrs. Langston approached her. Amy, it's not just about you taking this opportunity. Let us create something bigger. Let's work collaboratively. You'll be the bridge, and I'll help. The thought rattled around in Amy's mind. Was she ready for this? Would she be able to garner the community's faith? With every opportunity, worry skated through her thoughts like a shadow. Yet, this was her chance. Let us do it. Together. But standing there, with excitement boiling in her chest, another thought crept in. What would her father think? As she looked at Lucas, then back at the townsfolk, a question loomed larger than any before. Could her father's shadow of absence truly fade away in the light of this fresh beginning? The moment stretched as if time itself held its breath. The path ahead felt uncharted, filled with promise and peril alike. Would they all find a way to transform their lives together? The answer lay just beyond the horizon, waiting for her to reach for it, and Amy could almost feel it pulling her forward. What would unfold next was beyond her wildest dreams. The back door swung open, letting a burst of cool evening air sweep into the diner. The clattering of plates and soft chatter faded behind her as Amy stepped outside, drawing a deep breath and absorbing the warm glow of the fading sun. She turned, watching the crowd disperse, their energy still electrifying. It felt like they were all stepping into something new together. Mom! Lucas's small voice echoed behind her, and she turned to see him chasing after her, his cheeks flushed and hair tousled. He'd always been quick to follow, a little shadow matching her every stride. What is it, sweetheart? She asked, kneeling to catch his eye. Will they really help us? He asked, his honesty both sweet and alarming. She hesitated. How could she promise him something so uncertain? I think they want to, Lucas. And if we believe in them and show them they can, maybe they will. Lucas furrowed his brow, deeply pondering the idea. Like when you said our hearts hold the magic? A smile broke across her face. Exactly. Hearts hold magic, and together, we can make a lot happen. Just then, Mrs. Langston joined them, her silver hair shining in the twilight. "Amy, you inspired them. I overheard people talking about ways they could contribute, ideas they never voiced out loud. It's remarkable." "Really?" Hope blossomed in Amy's chest. "You mean they're interested?" "More than that," Mrs. Langston replied, her eyes sparkling. "You ignited something, dear. Just wait and see what happens when people feel empowered." As they stood together, Amy's thoughts spiraled. Each whispered conversation she heard floated through her mind like seeds, planting possibilities in her heart. What could they build together? Mrs. Langston then leaned closer, dropping her voice. "But I need to ask you something important." "Yes?" "What about your father's memory?" At the mention of her father, a wave of uncertainty washed over Amy. It felt too heavy a burden. I need to let that go. He was never part of this town's future, and I can't let his shadow dictate mine. I chose to move forward today." Mrs. Langston nodded thoughtfully. "Then that's the way to go. Just remember, sometimes clarity comes from embracing the past, not ignoring it." Before she could respond, Lucas tugged at her hand, wanting to pull her back into the diner. Amy's heart warmed. With him, she felt like she could face anything, no matter how daunting. The next few days flew by in a blur of planning. Meetings filled her evenings, spirited conversations with townspeople all buzzing around her new vision. The energy was palpable, she could almost see it shimmering in the air. They talked about workshops and markets, a place where no one felt less than the other. A place fueled by hope, but just as she felt the winds of change propelling her forward, anxiety prickled her skin. Were the doubts about her father's legacy fully behind her? Would she truly be able to unify a town still etched with past disappointments? At home that night, Lucas fell asleep on the couch, sprawled out and vulnerable. She watched him, feeling the weight of her dreams resting on those small shoulders. Could she keep this momentum going? Was she prepared for what lay ahead? A sudden flash from her pocket brought her back to reality. The diamond sparkled there, a reminder of her father. She gripped it tightly, feeling its cold weight. It was time to figure out not just what she would bring back to the community, but also what she would let go of herself. Little did she know, the next dawn would bring an unexpected visitor, someone from her past who would challenge everything she thought she knew about herself and her journey ahead. The sun rose with an unusual brightness, spilling golden rays across Amy's kitchen. She set about making pancakes, the sound of the batter sizzling on the griddle a comforting familiarity. Lucas, still rubbing sleep from his eyes, wandered in, the promise of breakfast pulling him close. "Good morning, Mom," he said, excitement already bubbling in his tiny frame. "Morning, sweetheart," she replied, flipping the pancakes with a grin. It was moments like these that filled her with a sense of purpose. Could this life really expand into something greater? As she poured syrup onto the hot stacks, the doorbell rang, a sharp intrusion into their peaceful morning. She glanced at Lucas, who had paused mid-bite, his eyes wide. "Can you get that?" she asked, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Okay." Lucas bounded toward the door, his little feet pattering against the wooden floor. When she heard the door creak open, Amy turned, curiosity piqued. Who could it be? A neighbor? A delivery? The unmistakable sound of a woman's voice reached her, one she hadn't heard in years but recognized instantly. "Is Amy here?" A chill slithered down her spine. It was Sarah, her childhood friend, and the one person who knew the most about her past. The memories flashed in her mind: laughter, tears, and that painful fallout from years ago. Without thinking, Amy stepped out of the kitchen and found Lucas standing at the door, eyes flickering between her and Sarah in confusion. "Hey Amy," Sarah said, hesitating, her warmth nearly eclipsed by uncertainty. "Sarah? What are you doing here?" There was a beat of silence where so much unsaid hung between them. Years of distance, filled with unspoken grievances. Sarah's smile was tentative, almost fragile. I came back to visit, she said softly, her voice holding an edge of nostalgia. I heard things were changing around here. I wanted to see for myself and to see you. It's been a long time, Amy managed, the words feeling heavy on her tongue. Lucas shifted at her side, sensing the tension. Too long, Sarah replied, her gaze dropping to Lucas. He's gotten so big. How old is he now? 7, Amy said, proud yet guarded. Sarah's eyes sparkled as she crouched down to his level. Wow. You must be a big help to your mom. Lucas nodded, cautiously accepting the attention. Can we talk, Amy? Sarah asked. Just for a second? I promise, it won't be awkward. Amy hesitated, the weight of their history anchoring her thoughts. Okay. As they stepped outside, the morning breeze stirred the air, seeming to carry the burden of their unresolved past. I wanted to reach out before, Sarah began, eyes earnest. I regret how things ended between us. But I've been doing a lot of thinking. What you're trying to do for the town, it's incredible. Thanks, Amy replied, though her heart raced with uncertainty. There's something I have to tell you, Sarah continued, her expression shifting to something serious. I learned something about your dad. The truth, it could change everything. Amy felt her breath hitch at the abrupt mention of her father. All those long nights of doubt and the shadows his memory still cast over her. What do you mean? Just let me explain. It's complicated, but I promise it's important, Sarah urged, her eyes pleading. Lucas's small hand slipped into Amy's, and she squeezed it tightly. The warmth wasn't just from Lucas's little fingers, it was the spark of something she had almost forgotten. Hope had its way of creeping back in, even when she least expected it. I'm listening, Amy said, her heart pounding. As Sarah started to speak, a knot of anxiety twisted in Amy's stomach. This was the beginning of something. The question was she ready for what followed? What was the truth, and how would it redefine everything she'd worked so hard to build? Your dad, he wasn't who you think he was, Sarah said, her voice steady but quiet, as if she feared the wind might carry her words away. Amy's heart raced. She had always known there were pieces of her father's life she didn't understand, but a part of her was terrified of losing the little she had clung to. What do you mean? She pressed, needing to fill that empty space of uncertainty. There's a lot to unpack, but he didn't just leave. He was involved in something much bigger. Something that could explain everything, the way things ended, the darkness that followed. Sarah's eyes searched Amy's, pleading for understanding, her words like hats tossed in the wind, dancing between them. Bigger? Like what? Amy managed to ask, her voice trembling slightly. Something about a ring, Sarah replied, the urgency creeping into her tone. A diamond ring. I didn't know before, but it ties back to your father's past, his true past. The room around them faded as Amy's mind raced back to all the late nights she spent searching for clues, trying to piece together the fragments of her memories. A diamond ring? What does that even matter? Why now? Because it means he was involved with something dangerous. Something people are still looking for today. Sarah stepped closer, nearly whispering. I think he tried to protect you from it. Lucas shifted beside Amy, the intensity of the conversation entirely out of his understanding. He looked up at his mom with wide, innocent eyes, as if sensing the unknown danger sizzling in the air. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? Amy's voice rose, filled with pain and frustration. We lost so much time. I needed you back then. I know. I'm sorry. Sarah's face crumpled slightly, revealing the weight of regret that she had carried all these years. I thought it would be easier for you to move on. To forget. But now I see I was wrong. Amy struggled with her emotions, each revelation feeling like a jigsaw piece snapping into place while her heart fought to keep it all together. Did he ever tell you anything? Did anyone ever explain any of this? I overheard things. Conversations. Your father was someone important. His past wasn't just mundane worries and regrets like we imagined. It was shadowy, tied to people who wouldn't let any loose ends remain. Amy's mind raced. What other secrets lay hidden? She had grown up imagining her father as a simple man who left them for reasons she never understood. But now, everything shifted. What if all these years she had been building her life on illusions? And why didn't you say anything when he disappeared? I thought it was just a bad choice. I thought he'd turn back up eventually. Sarah's voice faltered as she caught the rising tension in Amy's body. Lucas tugged at her sleeve. Mom, you okay? Yes, honey, I'm fine. The words felt weak, like a fragile band-aid over the raw parts of her heart. Just then, an unexpected sound shattered the moment an engine roared outside. A dark sedan crept down the street, stopping just in front of Amy's house. Amy's instincts surged, something felt off. They're looking for him, Sarah whispered urgently. What? Who? I don't know, but we need to be careful. Every fiber in Amy's being told her to retreat, to shield Lucas while she figured this out. Yet curiosity clawed at her, demanding answers. There was something bigger at stake, something she needed to face head-on. As the car's engine hummed ominously, she drew a deep breath, her heart racing at the new unknowns swirling around her. Let us go inside, Amy instructed firmly. We need to figure out what all of this means. And somewhere in her gut, amidst the chaos of dread and hope, she felt the first tremors of determination rising. What other truths waited to be uncovered? And how far was she willing to go to find them? As Amy stepped back inside, the weight of uncertainty pressed on her shoulders. She closed the door with a soft click behind her, the sound echoing in the tense stillness. The room felt small and closing in around her. Mom? Lucas looked up, his face a mask of confusion. What's wrong? Why do we need to be careful? She knelt to meet his gaze, pushing aside her turmoil. It's nothing we can't handle, buddy. Just a little problem, okay? The lie felt heavy on her tongue, but she needed to protect him. Can I play on my tablet? He asked, eyes already drifting toward the living room where his favorite games waited for him. At that moment, she wanted nothing more than to see him giggle at animated characters hopping on the screen. Sure, go ahead, she said, watching him scramble off. Once Lucas was absorbed in his game, Amy turned back to Sarah, the intensity in the air thickening. What do we do now? Sarah shook her head, her hands fidgeting. I don't know everything. I just know we have to be careful. Your dad, he might not have been the person he pretended to be. The nagging doubt grew inside Amy. The man she had idolized all her life, a figure stuck somewhere between hero and ghost, was being painted in darker shades. It felt like betrayal slicing through the heart of her childhood. Why a diamond ring? She blurted out. What's so special about it? I can't say for sure, Sarah replied, her brow furrowing. But from what I heard, it was valued more than just as a piece of jewelry. It could be connected to a crime. Or do you think my dad was involved in something illegal? Amy's voice trembled, each word laced with fear. I don't know, Amy. I want to believe he did what he thought was best, but sometimes people make choices that pull them into dangerous events. Amy's mind raced. She needed answers. We have to find out more. Can we trace this ring? Find someone who knows. Sarah hesitated, her instincts reflecting the worry dancing in her eyes. It could put us in danger. People might still be looking for it or for him. But we can't just stand still. This is my father we're talking about. If there's a chance he's in trouble. Amy's voice cracked, a mix of determination and despair. Suddenly, a knock came at the door, sharp and insistent. Heart racing again, she looked at Sarah, who paled. "Stay here," Amy whispered, moving toward the door as another knock came, louder this time. Something about the urgency made her skin crawl. "Mom, who is it?" Lucas called from the other room, worry creeping back into his voice. She swung the door open, her breath hitching as she faced a tall figure dressed in a dark coat. The man's face was half hidden in the shadows, an unreadable expression etched across his features. "Are you Amy?" he asked, his voice low and steady. "Yes," she replied, her heart pounding. "I'm looking for something. Something that belongs to your father." The world spun, and for a moment, she could only stare at him, realization washing over her. Was this the danger Sarah had warned her about? "What do you know?" she demanded, stepping back, unsure if she wanted to invite him in or slam the door shut. Looking over his shoulder, the man shifted slightly. "Answer me this, what do you really know about him? The ring he left behind is not just a piece of jewelry, it's a key to everything." "Everything?" Her mind reeled in disbelief. "What do you mean?" As the man opened his mouth to respond, distant shouts echoed from outside, intensifying the sense of urgency. "What have you gotten yourself into, Amy?" he said, his gaze piercing through her, suggesting he held secrets more dangerous than she had ever anticipated. And there it was, the question that hung in the air, tantalizing yet terrifying. What choices would she make now that the door to her father's concealed life had begun to open? Just then, the sound of footsteps hurriedly approaching splintered through her thoughts, and she felt a chill run down her spine. Were answers just within reach, or was her life spiraling into deeper chaos? Panic twisted in her gut as the echoes of those approaching footsteps grew louder. She shifted slightly, blocking the door, her heart pounding a rapid rhythm against her ribs. The man's dark eyes narrowed, assessing her and the growing tension in the air. "Who's coming?" Amy whispered, urgency trembling in her voice. "Trust me, you need to be ready," he said, his voice low, the weight of his words hanging like a storm cloud. Before she could respond, a group of men rounded the corner of the street. They moved with purpose, their expressions sharp, all hefting a sense of danger. An instinct kicked in her maternal protectiveness flared. "Lucas!" she called, voice straining. "Get out of the living room. Now!" The tablet clattered to the floor as Lucas's wide eyes darted between his mom and the door. "What's happening? Get behind the couch, sweetheart." As Lucas scrambled away, the man's strong, steady presence beside her began to feel more threatening than comforting. "What do they want?" Amy demanded, face pale, every inch of her screaming that she should slam the door and shut everyone out. "Answer S in the ring, Amy," he said. "They think it's with you or your father." Her pulse thundered in her ears. "What ring? What are you talking about? I don't have anything." But even as she said it, a flicker of doubt gripped her. What piece of her father's past was tangled with hers? She couldn't even fully comprehend what he had been involved in, but the stakes were climbing higher by the moment. The urgent thuds of the men's footsteps lessened as they reached her front porch. A hard knock resounded against her door, shaking the frame. "Open up, Amy. We know you're in there." A booming voice called from the other side. The man stiffened beside her. "They can't find it. You need to go." "Go where?" she shot back. "There's a place." He hesitated. "A safe place I can take you." "I'm not leaving without Lucas," she protested, fear surging through her veins like a current. "Mom! What is going on?" Lucas's voice trembled from the living room. She could almost hear the softness of his innocence threatened by the harshness outside. "Shoo, baby, just stay quiet, okay?" The man pressed on. "We don't have time." "Not without him," she asserted, her own resolve hardening with every beat of her heart. Then, without warning, the door shuddered as the men shoved against it relentlessly. "Let's go now." The man grabbed her arm, pulling her away from the door. "Mom!" Lucas cried, panic echoing in his voice again. With no choice, Amy turned toward the doorway, helplessness clawing at the edges of her spirit. She met the man's gaze, catching a sense of urgency and desperation in his dark eyes. "Fine. But we need to get him out." The man nodded, his lips pressing into a thin line as he opened the door just a crack. Sunlight flashed into the dimness, and she caught glimpses of men standing just outside, faces hard, glaring. The man stepped through the opening, his body blocking her sight. "Remember, trust me," he said, steeling himself for what was next. With one last glance at Lucas, her heart ached with the words unspoken. Were they stepping into danger? Or was this the moment where they could find answers together? Then, with a sharp intake of breath, Amy squeezed Lucas's hand tightly, ready to follow the man into uncertainty. But just before they slipped out, she heard the looming growl of urgency from the outside world. "We know you're in there. It's only a matter of time." The heat of belief burned in her chest. What began as a search for the truth now felt like a terrifying plunge into the unknown. How much danger lay ahead, and what sacrifices would it demand? Lucas looked up at her, eyes wide with fear, and she whispered a promise never to let him go. But the question swirled in her mind: what awaited them on the other side of the door? As the man pushed the door open, a rush of adrenaline fueled Amy's decision. She tightened her grip on Lucas and stepped into the blinding light, her heart thundering. Outside, chaos broke apart the quiet of everyday life. The men on the porch were more intimidating than she'd imagined, their taut expressions betraying tension and purpose. No time to analyze. They had to move. The man, who she still didn't know the name of, led them down the steps as the front door creaked closed behind them. A sudden shout broke through the air: "Hey! Stop right there!" Amy's blood ran cold. She felt Lucas stiffen beside her, instinctively leaning closer as if his small frame could shield her from the world. The man turned, his jaw clenched, and pulled her toward the side of the house. Shadows of the men flicked over the yard like hungry wolves. "Run!" he commanded sharply. They zigzagged through the narrow passage between the house and the fence, adrenaline propelling them forward, while the voices behind began to grow frantic. "Don't let them escape!" one shouted. With every hurried step, Amy's mind raced. What was she running from? The truth? Danger? The memories of her father that had always been tucked away? Finally emerging through the fence, they tumbled onto the adjacent street. The scent of fresh asphalt mixed with tension in the air. "That way." The man pointed, leading the way as if he had a map scrolling in his mind. "Where are we going?" Amy questioned breathlessly, still clutching Lucas tightly. "To a car parked a few blocks away. It's our best shot." But hesitation knotted in her stomach. What if they catch us? What even are those guys? "They want what's rightfully yours," he replied, glancing over his shoulder, urgency thickening his voice. As they hurried down the street, she couldn't help but think about what that ring could be. Clarity cut through the fog of confusion. It was about her father's involvement in something much bigger than her. "What do you know?" she pressed, trying to extract a shred of information. He hesitated slightly. "I know more than I wish I did. Just trust me." Trusting was hard, especially when her instincts screamed at her to stay, to stand her ground. But the noise of the men behind them drove logic out of her mind. They rounded the corner to find the car tucked in a cluster of other vehicles. The man threw open the back door, and Amy ushered Lucas inside, her heart calming slightly as she felt the promise of safety in the vehicle. "Get down!" he barked, sliding into the driver's seat and starting the engine. "What if they follow us?" Lucas asked, the fear still creasing his young brow. "They won't." Amy glanced back at Lucas, her protective instincts on overdrive. "We're going to be okay. I won't let anyone hurt you." But the shadows of doubt crept back. She couldn't shake the sense of being trapped not just physically, but emotionally too. What awaited them on this journey? As they pulled away from the scene, she looked back at her home, now just an ordinary house cloaked in the extraordinary chaos of the moment. Her heart ached for normalcy, that warmth of predictability. "Where are we going now?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper even in the confines of the car. "To a safe house. We need to figure out what they want and what you really have," he replied, glancing at her through the rearview mirror, and in that moment, she knew they were on the verge of facing something much bigger than the simple chase that had begun this journey. The stakes had risen, and answers awaited, but so did dangers that could unravel everything she held dear. But what she didn't expect was that their flight would lead to a discovery about her father that would change everything she thought she knew about him and about herself. The road stretched ahead, unwinding like a tunnel of uncertainty, and Amy clenched Lucas's hand, her compass through all the chaos. Would they emerge from this alive to find the clarity they desperately needed, or was more darkness waiting just down the road? The car's tires screeched against the pavement, the sound slicing through the thick silence that had settled in the vehicle. Amy stole a glance at the man, his focus unwavering, eyes fixed on the road ahead. She felt a swell of questions bubble inside her, nagging her to break the heavy atmosphere. "So, what's your name?" she asked, striving for some semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos. "Call me Ray," he said curtly, keeping his gaze locked straight ahead. Lucas shifted in the seat, peering out the window. "Ray, why do they want my mom?" Ray took a deep breath and finally glanced back at them through the rearview mirror. "Because of what your mom's father left behind." "What did he leave behind?" Amy ventured, her heart racing again. He hesitated. "A diamond ring. Worth a lot more than you might think. It's tied to something dangerous." Dangerous. The word hit Amy like a punch, sending her spiraling into thoughts about her father. She'd always known him as a quiet man who worked as an accountant, never the kind to attract attention. But now, questions clustered, demanding answers. Why didn't I know about it? She felt a sharp pang of betrayal, memories flooding back of her father's hushed conversations, the shadows stretching across their living room from the old lamp cast in golden light. Ray sighed. "He didn't want you involved." A smart move, but things rarely go according to plan. "She was always involved." Lucas burst out, his voice a mixture of confusion and hurt, eyes wide as he looked at Amy. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't know." She snapped back, feeling frustration swell inside. A tense silence settled in the car. She glanced at Lucas, tightly clutching the strap of his backpack, and her heart ached. He was just a child caught in this tangled web of uncertainty. The city passed by in a dizzying blur, streetlights flickering like distant stars. Amy's thoughts collided with one another: the ring, her father's secrecy, and the frightening men chasing them. "Are we safe in this car?" she questioned, uncertainty creeping back. Ray turned down a dark side street, the headlights illuminating the path ahead. "For now. But it's a risk being on the move." As they drove deeper into the unknown, Amy felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. What if revealing the truth about the ring would only make things worse? But living in the dark was becoming unbearable. "You said I have something they want," she said finally, her voice steadier. "What if I just give it to them?" Ray looked at her incredulously. "You could put both of you in even greater danger. This is about more than just a ring, it's about your family's legacy and those willing to kill for it." With those words, the reality of her father's hidden life sank in deeper, expanding like an untamed wildfire in her mind. What if everything she thought she knew about her life, her family, was a facade? A siren wailed in the distance, slicing through her thoughts. Amy's heart lurched as Ray's expression hardened. "Shit. They're closer than I thought." He swerved into an alleyway, tires skidding. The car came to a halt, the engine still humming, but the fear crackling in the air made her lean into Lucas, both seeking comfort and strength. "Stay low," Ray commanded, looking through the rear window, with the city breathing shadows around them, uncertainty mixed with the smell of warm asphalt. Amy's heart pounded like a drum, thumping against her ribcage. She didn't know how they'd end this night, or what lay ahead, but deep down, she knew one thing: it wasn't just about survival anymore. As the flickering lights of the sirens danced nearby, Amy's resolve sharpened. She'd learn about her father's legacy, even if it meant going into the heart of darkness, but deep inside, a chilling thought broke through the chaos when the truth came out: would it shatter everything she thought she had? Just then, a shadow slipped past the rear window, and Amy's breath hitched. "What's happening?" Lucas whispered, fear dancing in his eyes. The moment of truth was closer than they had imagined, and all she could do was hold on tight, both to Lucas and the flickering flicker of hope within. What awaited them in the looming night? The tension in the car was palpable as Ray's eyes darted between the rearview mirror and the street ahead. Sirens blared in the distance, a haunting reminder of their reality. With every thrum of her heart, Amy felt the weight of her choices crashing over her like waves. "Mom?" Lucas's small voice broke the heavy silence. "Are we going to be okay?" She turned to him, forcing a smile, though her insides were churning. "We're okay, honey. Just a little adventure." Adventure? The words tasted bitter. There was nothing adventurous about running from shadows that seemed ready to consume them whole. Ray pulled a hard left, and the car jolted as they hit an uneven patch. "Stay down," he instructed, his voice sharp yet steady. "I need to know about the ring." Amy blurted, desperation spilling through her words. Ray sighed, opening up as they slowed to navigate through the backstreets. "It's not just a ring. It's a key to your father's past, a legacy he wanted to protect you from. A promise to keep you safe." Her father's legacy? The words twisted in her chest. Could a simple piece of jewelry hold such power? She took a deep breath, deciding she had to know everything: the good, the bad, and the ugly. What kind of promise? Ray glanced in the rearview, the lines on his face deepening. He was involved in something dangerous, Amy. A ring connected to a crime lord's family. He risked everything to keep you away from that world. Amy's mind spiraled. Her father, an accountant, she could barely picture him using such a ring as a tool of power or protection. Why didn't he ever tell me? Because he thought it would drag you into danger. You know how the past can haunt people. Ray shifted suddenly, turning sharply into a dimly lit driveway. "Where are we?" Amy asked, instinctively pulling Lucas closer. "Safe house," Ray responded, hopping out of the car quickly, scanning the area. "Get out but stay low." As they hurriedly exited, a flicker of fear surged through Amy. What if they were wrong? What if this place wasn't safe? Lucas tugged at her sleeve as they moved towards the entrance. "Mom, I'm scared." Kneeling down, she cupped his face in her hands, searching his eyes. "Listen, Lucas. No matter what happens, I love you, and I'll keep you safe. Always." With a small nod, Lucas squeezed her hand, emboldening her own resolve. This was about more than just them now. It was about uncovering the truth, breaking free from shadows, and standing fierce for those she loved. Inside the modest house, they found a bare living room decorated with a tattered couch and a single lamp throwing a hazy light. But the quiet felt heavy, it was too still. "Are we alone?" Amy whispered, glancing around. "For now," Ray said, checking the windows. "But I don't want to take any chances. We need to figure out what's next." With her heart racing, Amy knew there was no turning back. "What do we do?" "We find the ring," he replied, leaning closer. "You're the only one who can unlock its secrets. And if we succeed, we can expose the truth behind everything your father was involved in." "How?" she asked. What if they find us first? Ray met her gaze, a fire igniting in his eyes. We're going to find a way to turn the tables, to reclaim your father's legacy, on your own terms. We'll make this your story, not his shadow. For the first time, hope sparked within her, a brilliant light cutting through the fog. Their paths had crossed for a reason, and by facing this challenge head-on, maybe she could find not just the truth about her family but about herself too. Okay, Amy said, determination hardening her resolve. Where do we start? First, we need to figure out who's after the ring. Then we plan our next move, Ray said, pulling out a small notebook from his jacket pocket. As he flipped through pages filled with names and connections, Amy felt her heart pulsating with purpose, a mounting readiness to confront the past that had loomed over her for far too long. Just remember, the truth will illuminate the path forward, Ray cautioned. With Lucas by her side, her fears began to unravel, replaced by a fierce determination to reclaim her narrative. Together, they were a force, ready to face whatever shadows lurked ahead, but somewhere deep in her gut ached an understanding of the stakes. If they uncovered the truth, it would change everything, and she needed to be ready for that. As they huddled together, the flickering light from the single lamp cast long shadows on the worn floor, but within Amy, a flame ignited. Stepping out of the darkness and into the light was a choice she would make, not just for herself but for Lucas, for her father, and for a future she would create on her own terms. Let us begin, she said, her voice steady and resolute. This is just the beginning. And with every ounce of love for Lucas sparking her courage, they would chase after the truth, ready to uncover the life-changing discovery that would shape their tomorrow. Now it's your moment to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories filled with twists and transformations. Hit that like button now to fuel the algorithm and spread the word. I want to hear your reactions about this heart-pounding end. Comment below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this inspiration. Only true fans understand the importance of standing by the channel. Your support means everything.